name is Dion Lafoucade. I am the Technical Director for the Trinidad Football Association. I would like to take this time to welcome each and every one of you for our third Everybody in TTFA online seminars. And today we have a great pleasure of having Mr. Coach Alfredo Montesso with us today. But before Coach Alfredo Montesso speaks, I would ask Mrs. Annette Knott of the TTOC, Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee, to say a few opening remarks to me, please. Mrs. Knott.
Thank you very much, Dion, and thanks again for inviting me to this third session. I have to say, for those who don't know me, I'm the Secretary General of the TTOC, but also the person that is very much in charge of what we call the Education Commission. And we've run over the time since COVID has started, many online coaching courses, etc., and have been introduced to a number of football coaches, which we hadn't met before. And so this has been a great opportunity. I told Dion a few minutes ago, I'm looking forward to this now. This is my Saturday afternoon excitement coming back onto the coaching courses. We've been very fortunate, and it's a great opportunity as coaches to be able to get this depth and the wealth of experience that you've gotten. First week, Liverpool, this second week, Ben from Aston Villa, and now you, and we all love it, the Brazilian football. So we're looking forward to what Alfredo is going to give us. One of the things that I really would like to say as somebody who's been involved in coaching and the education of coaching, it's very important not just to say, oh, I was on the course and I participated, but to really take home a message that you will then use when you get back out there. I know COVID will slip things up, but this is a great opportunity to start planning what you will change in your sessions. And over the last 3 weeks, and especially starting today, if you haven't done it before, look for one or even two things that you know that you will now change in your sessions because of what you have learned over this period. It doesn't make sense coming and spending an hour and a half, 2 hours on this fantastic information, wonderful information, and then going back to doing exactly what you did before. So let's take this great opportunity and say to yourself, all right, first week, this is what I'm doing. Second week, I'm doing this. Third week, whatever Alfredo tells us today, I'm taking away two things. So maybe at the end of the session, I'll have an opportunity, Dion, to ask one or two coaches, what are their two things they're taking away today? So have a great session. It is great that the TTFA and led by Dion is doing this. Let's make use of this opportunity, all of you, and enjoy this session. I've been enjoying them. So I'll be here to observe and great. And thanks again, Dion, for letting me come in.
Thank you very, very much, Mrs. Knott, for your, again, very, very wise words. And also, I love your words of encouragement. Because if we could take a little something from each of these seminars and apply it, and we're going to see a change. We're going to see a difference. Because with all these seminars, there's a common thread throughout. You know, whether it's in Brazil, Europe, North America, there's a common thread throughout. So thank you again, Mrs. Knott. I'd like to take this time to introduce our featured speaker, Mr. Alfredo Montesso from Brazil. And Coach Alfredo will give a little background about himself. And Coach Alfredo, over to you. Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago virtually.
Thank you very much, John. Greetings to everyone. I have to say that it's my pleasure to be here, and especially in this time, I would like to thank God for all of us. I saw the participants in this room. We have a quite good number, and if we are here, it's because we are passing this very difficult situation. All of you has been listen about the news from around the world, but especially from Brazil, in this very difficult time that many families they lost the loved ones, and but we have to thank God to be here. And to be honest, just to emphasize what Mrs. Knott said, is not just a matter to get a little bit from everyone that we listen, or the lectures that we say, or add something in our sessions, but it's a very, very huge responsibility for every coach in the world to pass the knowledge that they have, you know. So if what I'm going to share with you today, of course, is a combine of everything that I learned in my life. So they are lectures, they are things that I got from the coach that I work, from the friends that we work together, you know. So it's a very, very important responsibility that the coach they have in their life to pass those knowledge in front, you know. So if I get better today, if I learn something from day by day experience, I have to be helping the others to achieve what to touch what we learn, and try to even improve, make things better every time. So with that said, I would like to again welcome to everyone for this lecture, and I hope in the end of it we can take a little time to discuss. I have to say that again, what I'm going to present to you, they are number of years that we is spending learning and making adjustments, you know. So I am very glad to have the opportunity to work with some very experienced coaches, very experienced persons that help me, you know. And now I think that I have the responsibility to be sharing that with you guys. Okay, we can go for the presentation, Dion.
Yes, coach. Yes, coach.
Okay, great. Let me go here. Here, why cannot? Oh, okay, now I get it. John, help me with the screen. The screen
Okay,
is
cool.
fine?
Yes, it's fine. Yes, we are seeing,
Okay.
yes.
Great, I'm so sorry. You know that technology is something that comes in our life, and then we have to adjust ourselves with that, you know? So, guys, as I told you, everything that I'm going to say to you is about what we have been getting and learning in our life. I have to say to you, just to give you a little background, that I was a footballer here in Brazil back in the days. I played a little bit, you know. So the love of football in my family was something that came from the birth, you know. We were like a 14 former professional football players here in Brazil, with my grandpa and then my father, uncles and cousins, that we were 14 footballers, professional footballers. And then it's just to give you a little background. And then I went to the university. I stopped to play football, graduate myself. And then back in 95, I got the invitation from Coach Simões, and then joined the Jamaica team to go to Jamaica. And of course, you know the history after we touched the World Cup, you know? So a little background that what I did there is not to impress you, but of course is just to give you the idea from what we learned, what we did, is a branch of experience from all those clubs and national teams that we work. Okay, back in 2017, I have to say that to you, that I'm sorry. We graduate ourselves here back in the days in the physical university, you know, but of course CBF is getting inside of the system as well, and they created the CBF Academy. And then in 2017, after I sent my resume to CBF, I was qualified to do the license. Was the first group of full license, A license in CBF Academy in July 2017. You know, this is what was the last formation that we got with. That was something amazing, and a lot of experience from all the coaches and all the members of staff that were there in this time, you know. And then, guys, I have to say to you that every time that we talk about football is, of course, is a summatory of experience that we had in life. So sometimes myself talking to you about my experience and put topics in there, this looks for me very easy because this is what I did all my life, you know, but you have to say, especially in the end, if everything makes sense to you, because for me, of course, it makes sense because this is what we developed all over those years. But sometimes the coaches are listening that and then it is not figure out how this can be practically put in place. And then, of course, you have to think that in your mind. Okay, so when we talk about high performance practice, is just a lecture or just a name in the lecture that I put in there for you. We have to understand that there is a systemic, what we call here in Brazil, a systemic component in everything. So when we are the coach and we are responsible to be talking or to be forming a group or training a team, you know, we have to be aware about all the components that involve this system. So I have to master everything? No, of course not. But I have to get ideas for every single components or every single skills, or, you know, so competences that we have in football. So I will talk this with you, okay? So football, we know that is a complex sport. It's something that we have to be considering as a very complex thing. Why you say that, coach? Because, you know, there is some different intelligences in our life. So imagine that a guy, without study science, without study physics, without study mathematics, he takes the ball on the field and don't consider the air and the weight of the ball, and then he put in the ball in the middle of the pitch and make a cross or make a pass by 100 or maybe 50 meters, and get the guy in the point that he is without study any kind of those things, you know. So he has, the footballer, he has a specific intelligence that he's developing in that. So he is a very intelligent in football. So professional players possess, as I said to you, extraordinary skills, and they are really impressive, you know, as you see in that. And how they train that, how they develop those skills, how they achieve this level of performance, you know. And then in this time come the coach approach. We are vehicle to taking them for to helping them to give their best in every time that they are playing football. Okay. So practically, the objective is to establish that we have every time that we get in a club or in a national team, is to establish our method and philosophy. So the coach, he is as I said to you, he transfer to the players, he get his philosophy and method based on everything that he learned, the experience that he has, and of course the formation that he had. So if I come from Brazil, of course my philosophy is based in Brazilian football, is based in quality, is based in skill, is based in creativeness, is based in attacking football, is based on those philosophy that became because I lived in that, I learned, I got in process in my life. I grew up thinking football about like that, you know. So the other point, the other objective is to achieve and maintain the success. So if we have those philosophy and methods to be working, and we have to plan that, to simplify everything that we're going to put to the players to achieve, and it's more difficult not only to achieve but to maintain success, to helping them to be in their best condition all the time. And of course, this is something that we face a lot in Caribbean, a lot in Jamaica, is transform average players in athletes or in players that could get like Ricardo Gardner, like Keith Kelly. So some of those players that they never had a mentality, a professional mentality, and then they became an athlete when they got with the system and the method and philosophy that we put for them. Okay. So the concepts of high performance training, as we are talking about now, is practically or practice in action and development of skill, you know. And this is what we think about. So every action that we put in there, every single session or everything that we have to plan, as we require the activity in planning, periodization, everything that we put in there is to help them to improve their skill and of course getting the result in the process. Okay, so if I get something in my practice that is not related specifically with I want to develop, I'm wasting time in there. So I have to be very, very specific and very accurate in the periodization that I want to achieve with my players. Okay, so high performance practicing football is planning, you know, in accordance with the maximum performance of skill. So this is something that we have to get in mind all the time. I cannot be on the field training players or training my team with things that is not useful in the game or useful in any session, or otherwise I will be wasting my time. Okay, identify, of course, the fundamentals to play football. So if I identify the skill that I want to develop with my team, I practice them and I can improve them. This is the relation that we have. What I can identify, what I can produce stats, what I can measure, I can control, and then if I can control, of course, I can improve. Okay? So after the evaluation, sometimes, especially the game's result is one of the evaluations that we have, of course, is the maximum, because if we are working, or sorry, if we are practicing football, we are practicing to play the game. So if I practice to play the game, of course, has to be one evaluation of results, you know? So one evaluation must to be the game result. Of course, there is many other ones that we're going to see over this presentation, but it's very important to us to get that in mind. So game result is something that I can evaluate very well. So if I identify the competence, I have to identify the competence. To identify the competence, I have to establish performance indicators. So even you're going to see in front, even something that we imagine that we cannot measure, we are getting in there to start to do that, you know? So we have that initial evaluation, and then we can practice. So if I identify that my team has one weakness or has one thing that is not working properly, especially in the philosophy that I have in mind, I have to evaluate that, establish indicators to evaluate in the proper way, make the initial evaluation, and then practice and try to, or of course, getting better every day. Okay? I'm sorry. So we have skill dimensions, and we're going to touch all the skill dimensions making a part. So we have the dimension of physical dimension, we have psychological dimension, technical dimension, okay, individual tactics, sectoral or situational. Sorry, I miss one S in the tactic in the 51, okay, and the global task. Of course, as a coach, we're going to be taught in the last four dimensions. But just to let you know that we even, of course, can evaluate physical situation and or dimension, or can evaluate psychological dimension as well. Okay? So in physical and psychological dimension, we have many tests or many skills that we can still measure, like in the fitness, peak of VO2, maximum speed, strength. So every single thing that we do with the players, we do this. We can do that, evaluate that, and try to plan with them individually, and sometimes, or most of the times as well, as a group, as a team effort as well. And I'm going to show you how we did that with Botafogo. Okay? In the psychological skill, the discipline, the ethic, leadership, motivation, everything that we can identify. There is many tools in place that we can identify, and of course this has to be more for a psychologist, a sports psychologist, and of course those guys, they are more competent to put this in place, but we have to get this in mind when we plan our team session or our season, that we have to identify those things, especially you guys that work in schools, guys that work in small clubs. Most of the times we don't have those professionals in our side. But as a coach, we can go there, we can search for those things, and we can put something in our sessions, in our team development, you know. So the physical test and behavioral evaluation, you know, that can be done with those guys. Correlate with other dimension. It's very important, you know, have that connection, because if I see a player and test a player, and I find that this player is a very fast player, but he is not correlated with my tactical approach or his technical skill. Of course, when he gets the ball, when he gets to be doing any skill in the field with the ball, he's going to be say, listen, but I see this guy in his fitness condition or in the speed test, he was very, very fast, but when he stepped on the field, he cannot develop that, because we must to correlate that with other dimensions as well. So those are the indicators that we have to be aware about, you know. The vision of tactical periodization give to us that relation, because the tactical periodization that come from Portugal. So the Portuguese, they study a lot about tactical periodization, and always they say that any kind of fitness skill must to be related with the game situation. So this is very important for us to be aware. Okay, so in Botafogo, we did that presentation to the players, okay, and in that presentation, of course, Botafogo has some kind of material that can measure the kilometers that the players they run in the first and the second half time, and this can help us to sit with them, with the group, show for the group the total minutes that they play, you know, so the minutes that they play in the game, so the number of games, so all these statistics, these stats, we sit with them, we can plan with them, we can show their performance game by game, and of course it's easier, as I said to you before, if we measure it, you know, if we measure it, we can control. If we can control, we can improve. And then was easier to be improving with them their performance, you know. So this was an interest situation that we got Botafogo back in 2019, okay? And the Botafogo was not in a good position in the table. Last year, 2020, they were relegated for the second division, but in 2019, we did a very good first round, and we finished the first round in 6th position, and we were able to qualify to South America Championship, you know. So, but Botafogo had one physical problem by this time. The body composition was not so good. And then we planned with the team, okay, to reduce that situation and show them, giving them some examples, because you remember that players, they have a specific intelligence, all right? They are not science, they are not doctors, they are not physics, but if you show them some little example, then they can, of course, understand better, and then try to produce try to achieve what we are producing with them. So we got one indicator. We saw we have to improve one skill. We have one indicator, and then we were trying to plan a team effort to get this goal that we had in mind. You know, so we have the goal to reduce 6 kilograms of body fat for the team or each player in the composition. In the composition, every single player has to reduce this. So, but there is some players that has to reduce one kilogram, another one 2 kilogram, another one 3 or 4. And then what we did the measurement, and then we combine as a group to show them that 6 kilogram was correspondent to 12 pots of 500 margarine. So this is giving them a visualization, this can give them a real idea for what they are getting their body that could help us in the physical development, So the collective goal to increase muscle was 8 kilograms. So sometimes we have difficulties the players, they love to play football. And then when we say to them that they have to go to the gym and do their workouts, today is much better, but it's still important to tell them or to show them what is important or what they need to achieve. Sometimes they think, oh, I am very good, I am in good shape. But when we measure them and we identify that they need to increase muscle mass, then we have to tell them that everyone should contribute for what we have to achieve. That was 8 kilograms. Everyone contributes. You can see in the third photo, in the third slide. Everyone contributing in any way, but those were the top ones. So we emphasize, we give them a motivation, especially for the guys that did the best effort. Okay, how to achieve the goals. So what was that? This was a presentation that we did to the players for them to visualize and make easier for them to identify where they have to get. Okay, anyone? Are you there with me?
Yes, Professor, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, great. So anything you let me know, okay, Dion?
I will do for sure, Professor.
Great, great. So the other skill dimension, we spoke about physical and psychological dimension, okay? Another skill dimension, of course, is the technical that come more for our area now, Just to see if we are controlling the time. Yeah, let's go there. The technical training, all right? The skills, the technical gesture, passes, correspondent foot. So every single thing that I have as an important skill in my game, I have to put in there, getting the indicators to see if my team, if my group, if my player, he is doing or he is mastering the skills that we want to develop with them, So we start with the right and wrong pass, technical performance analysis. You're going to see some videos that we use to be talking with the players, especially in the last work that I was involved with Botafogo. Dimension of constant and neglect training session. So this was what I told you before. So if I have the indicator that one training session or one technical skill, one dimension of the game, one dimension in the technical aspect of the game, I'm not touching or training that, how I can, as a coach, to be challenging my player to do something better if I don't involve this in my plan, of my practice plan. Okay, so I am in contact with a doctor from the Federal University of Dourados, that is Daniel, and we are trying to develop a software, because I know that there is a lot of softwares. You see that is in Portuguese now. I can explain one by one to you because this is in development, okay? But what we want to get now is to try by numbers, by status, just one way to measure how competent my player are or my player is in developing some skill, you know, or some ability or some fundamentals of the game. Because gestury, how his body position when he makes the pass, how is his body position when he makes, when he control the ball, how his body position when he doing a finish. So every single thing, we believe that it's important for the player, especially I saw the presentation Mr. John did from Mr. John from Liverpool, he did, and when he was talking about decision making, and we believe that if we can measure the quality of movement our player, the motor movement our players doing, and we can improve their skill in that dimension, we can help them to take better decisions in the field, you know, because what we have seen so far, all the analysis, especially in the motor execution, they are doing by analysis of videos, of course, and by the coach's experience. Of course, all of us, we have been seeing a lot of guys playing football. We ourselves play football. We study a little bit about motor control when myself, especially when I went to university and graduated myself as a PE teacher. We did all this studies, research and everything, but we never have one thing that could measure to us those type of quality movement, and then what we're trying to achieve with these tools. Okay, so it's not finished yet, but we are trying to put one team here. We can say Equipe A is like a team A, and the number of the athletes, the number or the name of the athletes, we put it in there, the region of the game that they play, if they play in the defense or the region of the field that they are acting in the moment that we're going to analyze their execution. Okay, so if they are in the defensive field, if they are in the midfield, or if they are in the attack zone. So the abilities there, the habilidades, ability or fundamentals of the game, pass, reception, finishing, dribbling. So everything. So the level of difficulty that we are analyzing those guys, what they are doing. So example, he is doing a pass in the attacking zone. So how is the level of difficulty this pass in the attacking zone? Because if we suppose that he is in attacking zone, of course he will be in a little bit more pressure. So the level of the fundamental in that moment will be a bigger one. Okay, so the result of it, if it was a mistake, or if he was right pass, if he still one ball, if he scored a goal. So this tool we are inputting in there to develop this tool to help the coach to analyze their team. Okay, sorry. So said that we analyze the individual tactics. Okay, so in that dimension, we have, of course, the skills of individual decision make, anticipation of scenario, transforming difficulties in the field to opportunity, sometimes when they are in the pressure, sometimes, you know, so every single aspect of the game, the field, the skills that they have to develop on the field, the function that they have to be when they are in each zone that they are playing, we have indicators to analyze that, you know. So can you see that we have all this format every time? In my mind, it's, as I said to you in the beginning, this is very clear, you know, but in the end, you can have any question if you don't understand what I'm saying. So the indicators can be when and how the technical gesture into the game will be performed, if they are with the ball possession, heading, you know, if they are in a tough area or if not in a very risk area. So in the different areas of the field, the greater motor experience, the greater will be the performance. So if they can mastering the motor experience that they get in practice and getting that to the field, they will be perform much better, of course. Okay, I have two videos here. I have two videos here from analysis we did with Botafogo. Okay, so I'm going to be highlight one of the players, and in the end of the video, I will be talking to you a little bit about it. Okay. We were looking, I'm going to show you another one, okay? But we are looking that time to, you saw this highlight player. You can see a light over him now. The guy is Leo Valencia. He's from Chile, okay? And he was playing for Botafogo. And we were doing individual tactical corrections with them. Of course, sometimes we emphasize good things that he did, you know, because you know the psychological approach has to be like this. We have to reinforce what he has done in a good way, and of course correct what he was not doing properly, you know. So we are forcing with them. In this time, we were trying to improve his game in between the lines, okay? So we are trying to make him see how important was for us. was for us to have him play in between the lines, okay, and emphasize some situation you could see in the game, some situations to press the ball right after he loses the ball in the midfield. But as a midfield, as an attacking midfield, we were looking for him to be more patient, to be played in between the lines, because we need that pass from the defenders to break the line and to make someone to be working in the opposite midfield back, you know. So this was the individual tactical. This was a model of individual tactical approach that we did with them. How we analyze those situations and how we work that with the players. As I told you, always we emphasize what those players they are done in a good way, and correct with them what we expected from them from the game, you know. So we did that as well in the same way. So how we, sorry, let me go back a little bit for this example that I did to you. How we get to analyze those things once we have no stats or numbers or a way to compare or a whole model to do that. Because what we used to do is, or what we do when we are working with a team is every time that we receive a player, Hello?
Yeah, we are still hearing you, Professor. Go ahead.
Okay. You can see my presentation, huh?
Yes, we can, Professor.
Great, great. You are saying that we have to analyze and see, because we were putting that in a practice. We were training them, practice that, and then we measure that by analyzing the videos. You know, we measuring them this by statistics. We sought that skill dimension. We saw points in that skill dimension that were improving and other points were not improving. And then we could, by analysis, by stats, show them and say, listen, this was interesting by the time, because Leo Valencia was a player that don't accept too much to be in the bench. But we have to sit with him and say, listen, Leo, this is what we expect from you. And you are not giving that to us. You know, you are not playing between the lines. You are not attacking the opposite back when we break their lines. You are not looking for the space. You are not individually playing the game that we expect from you. And was interesting because we have that model, you know, in videos. We show them in the day that he arrived and he was hiding from the club, and we sit with him, with the player, and say, listen, we brought you to the team because you have those qualities that we need for our team, and then you can do it. You know, this was a situation that we work with them very well. Okay, let us go to situal or sectorial and situational tactical training session now. Okay, I am a little bit later, but we start a little bit later as well, and Dion. So was like 3 o'clock now. We're supposed to be finishing now, but
that's fine, Professor. You go ahead. That's fine. No, you're good. Go ahead.
All right. Take care. So the collective work, the move from the sectors or situation, game occurrence, every single skills that we plan as our team philosophy, we have to try to make a way to get indicators that we can analyze that on the field. Okay, so I'm so sorry. have to go back in that. We have to do that, you know, find those skills, find a way to measure them. You know, there is many tools in the internet. Of course, there is many things that cost a lot, but we have to use our creativeness to do things to be giving us a better way to approach in the games or the train or our practice, you know. So the intrinsic train and extrinsic train. So the characteristics of our team, they are indicators as well. And of course, when we analyze other teams, are you going to see some set plays here, and two set plays that we were analysis from the opponent team, and then we could be attaching our training sessions to prepare our team for the game. Okay, so those are the indicators. I have another video here for you as well. Okay, and just go back here. So we were to face this team, Havaí, from Santa Catarina, is south of Brazil, you know, and we knew that they had a very good set play. They had been scored 2 or 3 goals in this period of time with throw-ins. And then what we do, we take the analysis, we show the players in before practice, and then we go to the field and practice that. You know, we knew that they look for someone here and another one to come in his back. So just a simple example that we can develop in, even with a small camera, you know, a friend that can help us to record or do something to prepare our team. So those are the indicators that we can use it. Okay. So other thing, like we did, corner kick. This is same Havaí, a team that I said to you, was the 2 different games that we got. One they were playing at home. This one they were playing against Santos. They had been losing in this time. Okay, but we were seeing how they play their corner kick. So it's very simple to visualize that. We could circle the players. They have 5 players in the area. 2 guys, one coming here to attract our opponent team. So every information we should pass to the player. One will be in the rebound. So every single information we could pass to them. And the way they kick the corner kick, if you see by the left side, they play with the right foot. So the ball, a situation, then we say to them that the ball come in the different direction. In the right side, or curve inside, and another in the right side, the ball curve outside, because the guy play by right foot as well. You see? So those are important informations that we can take, analysis that we do in the game. You see there, they have a set play. We can show to them. Always bringing someone to be playing short, attracting the opponent. You see, distracting them inside of the 18 area. So all those are relevant informations that we have to put to be in our training plan. Okay. And the last one, the global tactic. This is something this is attached our philosophy in there, you know, how you like your team, if your team likes to play ball possession, whatever. There is those indicators that use the skills that we have to put in there, the team behavior in general, depend on the club future. So if you take, for instance, Barcelona will change the coach time by time. You know, it's not common for them to change the coach, but sometimes, of course, they change the coach. But the club future is there. You know, the philosophy is there, and of course, some of the clubs, the behavior will depend on the coach philosophy. So if the team is more aggressive, if the team is more patient to be constructing their game. So all of them, they are skills that we have to be finding indicators to show us what is important to get from our team and from the opponent team. Okay, so video analysis, if more aggressive posture in marking, if we marking in a low zone to be waiting for a counter, you know. So the map read as well. If we are not in balance, you know, if our team attack more by the right side and less to the left side, how we can adjust those situations. So all of them, they are indicators to be looking for our team posture or our team philosophy, and of course the characteristics of the opponent team. Okay, let me just show you one analysis that we did from Botafogo and São Paulo. This was one of the first games in 2019 we did with Botafogo. So we were looking for a slow transition, a defensive transition now. So we press as requested, okay? So the team did very well because we press the opponent as we plan, okay? But when we had to make the transition, look at this. We allowed 5v4 inside of the 18 yards, and this one was one of the corrections that we did with them, okay? The other thing, always we knew São Paulo had a very strong throw-in as well, and then we set the marcation inside 18 yards, okay? Some players was with the responsibility to mark individually, man-to-man, okay? And others, they were in line to be playing in zone, okay? But we left one guy here, and then we're going to see what happened in this game, in this play. We allowed one finish, was very near, was very close by, and because we did a mistake in one of the global tasks that we set for them. We were saying to them and make the correction about the goal kick, you know. We were planning to take position very fast and very quickly, and we took so long. Look at this guy Gilmar, and he's supposed to be wide here to give amplitude or to give a position for our team to play. He never came here. We were put under the pressure, and see what happened. We allowed one finish from the guy. It was offside, but we gave that opportunity to the other team. We were asking to the guys, it's in Portuguese because it was set in that, and I'm doing the translation for you, okay? So we were setting that time, every single time that we see their line pressing us, for players to attack their back here and use those zones to be playing in a straight connection, you know, and we did that very well. But watch now, what we corrected with them was set with our team. This was a plan, and we should be expecting. And when that ball gets in the back of the opposite team, we never step inside 18 yards with the number of players that we desire. See the player where he is. He's not supposed in that time to be playing as a supporter. You know, he's supposed in that time to be stepping inside 18 yards. Was a good, as I said to you, sometimes we do the correction and sometimes we show good things, you know, and we plan with them to press with collective attitude. And then we could do that in that set with against São Paulo. See that? We press, we keep in a good composure, we set the team there, and then we step over, and the guy came, he pressed and forced a pass, okay, but we were establishing our line here. In that time with Botafogo, we just started the job with them, you know, and we love to play short pass and good ball possession and build the team, the game they played from behind. But some of the times we never had this combination so set because of was the beginning of the work, you know, beginning of our job with Botafogo. And we set one thing that every time that we could not build the game from behind, we should use the long ball as a connection and leave the pressure in front of us and step for second ball. Okay? Look, we were pressed, we had no option, and then we played long ball, but we never had the second ball in compactness, and then we allowed them to play in our back. Just a minute. Yeah. As we said, the movement, you saw one guy there. We had that set play there. If the player is not aware, you see Cicero here, he allowed the player because we had this combination. Every time that one ball come in rebound, we step fast and quickly outside 18 yards to leave the guy offside. Okay? Look at this. Very, very nice. Very, very how this tool give us the opportunity to show the players what we were trained, what we had to develop, you know, what we have to improve, because we were saying to them that we should not force the game in the zone that we have no high number of players. So we have 1, 2, 3 players in a zone that they have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 3v5, and we force the ball inside there. So this was not a good decision. That ball should be playing, and then we should be playing possession and move the game around. And we didn't that. We never did that, and then we took the counter-attack again. Okay. What we were talking to, not to be aggressive in the marcation, we allow the penetration, and then we consider the goal score. So we were talking about individual marking, you know, individual attitude, and trying to correct that. This was the same individual attitude. We never gave short option. This was something that we were challenging them for every time that the corner kick was kicking against us. The ball is in the goalkeeper hand, given option or short option, very quick to break in counter. Okay, so this was what I was saying to you in the beginning of work. You see, the combination never worked because they were not in their mind, always coming for, they had in their mind before, always coming for a short pass. And then when they have space in the opponent back, they should play in their back, and then they just don't have this kind of combination yet, you know. So we took those indicators, we were showing to them, we are working with them, make them see themselves on the pitch. Players don't like that so much, you know, because correction, you know, you see, we could make 1, 2, 3, 4v2 in the zone of, in the defensive zone, but still with a passive or a no aggressive attitude, with a no urgent attitude, we were giving to São Paulo the opportunity to put us under the pressure. See again, 4v2, and then we had to use the long ball. We should be taking the risk by the quality of our players to be playing 4v2 in the zone and build the game. This, we were talking to them about crossing without players inside 18 yards, using the ball fast without patience. See the player highlight. He caught the ball in the midfield, okay? He made the first pass for the counter-attack, but he never had the attitude. This is something that we had to work in his mind. The attitude in the transition was not in there. You know, see where he finished the play. He start in the midfield and finish in the midfield. Bad decision as well, because he should put the ball, a long ball in or a curve ball over the player head, you know. No attitude, no aggressive attitude again for the marcation. Look what happened. This is what we're talking, you know. So sometimes attitude from the player in the attacking zone give us a reflect in the last part of the field, you know. So guys, those are the indicators that we look, you know. So this is the way that we think about football. Sometimes, as I said to you, for us, in the practical, in the practice that we have day by day in the field, this look is very simple to us, you know. But when we have to pass this as a theory, sometimes don't look so clear for you. And this is the time for us to take the questions, or to have some questions, or to do some points in there, okay? But I have to say to you that I want to leave you some challenging questions that Dion, I believe that Dion going to put you in groups that for us to discuss about that, okay? And Dion, how you want to operate that, Dion?
Okay, so what we'll do, we'll take the first question. What are these fundamental competencies? Example, VO2 max, peak speed, time, and possession of the ball. So we'll put the first question. We're gonna put you guys in a breakout room, a random room, and we're gonna give you guys 5 to 6 minutes max to discuss a little bit this first question, little question for you. So Yale, can you put them in breakout rooms, please?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Is this roommate? Anybody there?
Can somebody from room 8, can you answer the question, or that on behalf of your group, please? Somebody from room 8, please. And the professor will give you his, will let you know. So professor, what we'll do is we'll hear a few, one or two more, maybe 2 or 3 rooms, and then you would speak.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. So room 8, please. Anybody from room 8, please? Okay, can we have somebody from room 7, please?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good day, Coach Jason. Go ahead, buddy. We're hearing you. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I forgive me. The reason I'm taking the opportunity to put this out there is because I think the competencies that's required, I think it's kind of self-explanatory in terms of your person's their natural abilities, body position, first touch, technique when it comes to shooting and passing. You know, all these different variations. But I had a question that I put to my group, and unfortunately, we didn't get very far in terms of getting the answers. So the question I want to ask is, in a scenario where you have a quality team, but you have an individual player who is proven to be as such a quality player, but let's say they have a technical deficiency in one area. Let's say, for example, the person is very strong on the dominant foot, but not strong at all on the weaker foot, right? Now, do you now teach your team the different technical way, different ways of crossing, different ways of passing, to you know, so they can make a decision when they're on the board to provide service for this individual? Or do you now concentrate on having this individual work more on their non-dominant foot or on those skills that are missing to now become a more well-rounded player? You know, and that's kind of where the discussion went in our group. And simply because we agreed that the skill sets or those competencies that we'll be looking for are pretty much straightforward.
Sure, Professor, please go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Jason, thank you for the question. Man. Very, very, very clever and very important one. What I mean is that every time that I have this information in my hands and I'm gonna plan my training session, it's easier for me to set a training session to try to optimize the deficiency that this player has. Let me just do like this. You are saying, but I'm going to train everyone in the same way as I have to reinforce someone. Of course, some things that has to be done individually in the practice. Okay, we used to call a tactical, technical, individual train every single day, 15 minutes in the end of the game, in the end of the practice, to put those players to do things that they need to improve. Just for example, if I have a defender that plays, his dominant foot is the right foot, but he plays by the left side, and we need to play sometimes with connections by the side of the field, okay, I can put him there, isolate him from the rest of the group, make the rest of the group doing something different that they need for themselves, and work with this player. But what happened as well, if I have this scenario and I know that I can plan myself to put someone that put him to work with his left foot or his no dominant foot in the way that he not use usually, you know? So if I have a striker in my small scrimmage that know how to press the guy and usually he press the guy from inside to outside, make him to put himself or the ball in his left foot to working in there, I can associate that in my training practice and put one to do something that he does naturally to force the other one to do something that he is not accustomed to do. You know, Jason, this is something that help us to decide what we want to do or what we want to improve and potentialize our training sessions. Excellent.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Jason.
Okay, so I'll do one more group. Can we get group 4? Group 4. Somebody from group 4, please. Can we get somebody from group 4, please? Okay, didn't hear anybody from group 4. Group 1, somebody from group 1. Somebody from group 1. Okay, group 5. What about group 5?
Hi, good day. Here's Joseph from group 5.
Go ahead, Hazy. Thank you. Go ahead, buddy.
All right. So basically our discussion went around as the competencies, the VO2 in regards to the maximum fitness of the player and how they can maintain that level of fitness over at maximum performance. We looked at speed in terms of identifying the player's speed, so we can match speed with a specific position on the playing field. And in terms of the team possession or possession, we looked at team possession, and also, in my view, you could look at the player's ability to retain possession given a certain scenario. So basically, that is how our discussion went.
Sure, Professor.
Yes, Hazley, thank you for the observation. I believe that's it, you know. So every single skill, every single aspect of the game that we reinforce with them, we have a way to control or to identify, to measure that will be important for the development. And don't forget, you know, so every time to be more specific as possible. This is always coming in my mind. The first time that I went to Jamaica back in the 90s, my responsibility was more with the physical aspect of the game and always connect with the game philosophy, the tactic, and the technical aspect of the game. So this is something very important.
Okay, Professor, can you put back up the questions, please?
Yes,
and
of course.
Let me also say to the participants, professors agreed to go a little bit longer, right, for your benefit. So a little bit longer, please. So please bear with us.
Dion.
Yes.
Yes, if there is no comments or no question, makes me feel very well, because looks like that my explanation was so fine that nobody has questions. Yes, coach. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so well said. So well said.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is this. Guys, take down the 2 questions, and I'll take two rooms per question. So, are the skills identified sufficient to reflect performance in modern football? And the other question will be, are the performance indicators, tests, and variables used to assess these core competencies valid? So we're going to go at the 2 questions one time. So let's do this. Room 1 to 5. Room 1 to 5, you would answer the first question. Are the skills identified sufficient to reflect performance in modern football? And room 6 to 10, you would answer, are the performance indicators, tests, and variables used to assess these core competencies valid? So first 1 to 5, and then 6 to 10. Let's go ahead here, please.
systemic thing that cannot be separated. I cannot be challenge a player to do his best test one day if I don't understand that he has a problem in his house or whatever. So I have to understand the systemic approach of the planning that I have. So the test has to be working in my benefit, in benefit of the team.
Thank you. And can we have somebody from group 6, please? Group 6, please. Group 6. I know time is upon us, but group 6, anybody from group 6? Can we have somebody from, so go ahead, Ikenna, please.
Yeah, good afternoon. So how we assessed it, we looked at the decision-making process and communication in terms of the testing and the variables for the performance indicators. And then we would look at the assessment of the players in situations from simple and moving to complex to see how best they would have adapted. And that's how we would have implemented, the performance and see where we were able to develop the players based on our session.
Good. And can we have somebody from group 9, please? Group 9.
Come on, guys. I was in group 9. Let's get somebody from group 9. I'm gonna have to call them out then. Oh, son, thank you. We'll get you.
Not hearing.
They call that down the side. Come on.
All right, so we looked at, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. Go ahead.
We looked at
Good afternoon.
performance indicators in the sense that before the season starts or early on in the session, we would set performance indicators as in we'll do record the individual information of players or individuals, like different stats, their speed and such. Also, we looked at doing video sessions to record players, record training sessions, so players we can analyze with players, so they could have an idea as to where they are with certain things. And I'm sure we've come across where you try to explain to a player where he's making several mistakes or he's not doing things as supposed to, and they'll doubt it to the ground. And not until they see actually a recording of themselves, they'll eventually come to terms with what you're trying to get across to them. So that's two of the as we looked at, yeah.
Thank you. Coach, and I have, Professor, I have somebody from Hazley Joseph from group 5 that wants to say what his group discussed very quickly. So Hazley, you can go ahead very quickly and say what your group discussed quickly.
No, the guy already did it. I just sent in a message to them, letting them know that we had a great discussion.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I have group 4 here. I just want to make a quick mention of what we discussed. I didn't get to say the first time, but basically we discussed the indicators, VO2, speed of thought, speed of play, speed of movement, possession, passing and passing precision, trapping, dribbling, and finishing, and also accuracy of finishing. So we discussed those indicators and discussed more or less, we felt they were quite sufficient in terms of things that indicate to be used. Okay, that's about it.
Oh, awesome, awesome. We have a question here. Sorry, Professor, go ahead. You want to make a comment on those points, please? And then I have a question that was put in the chat, a very, very good question that was put in the chat.
Okay, I have a comment to say in this particular time now.
Sure.
That if I take this group that we are in discussion today and take something as an indicator to work with them, for sure I will discuss about or trying to put my indicators to see the leadership, you know, and develop it with them, because we are discussing in a group of 5, and a suggestion from the first time or in the first minute, we decide who is the leader, who is someone that's going to speak for the team, you know. So you know that player that you have inside the pitch that play the coach function inside of the pitch, play the coach inside of the pitch. I will look for that in this group. So this is what I'm saying. So they are challenge questions, okay? They are challenge questions. So are those skills or are those indicators sufficient for us in our job to be working with our team? So this is a question that we have to be answered every single day. Sometimes we were using something back in 90s or back in 2000 that we are not using today. We are using different things because the modern trend, the modern practice, they come, the research, then everything. So we change our mind sometimes, you know. So indicators that we are using today, they are sufficient. So this is the challenge question that we put in place. Okay.
So, Professor, we have a coach who has joined us all the way from Canada.
Okay.
Coach Clint Crouch, and he's asked a question in the chat, and it says, what is the suggested or suitable age to start technical game training comparable to the tactical details that are required with the professional player?
Well, thank you for the question. Thank you for the question. I believe that the ages it's like Paulo Freire, that is a educator, Portuguese educator. He says that the age they got, sometimes you have under 70, under 8 or under 7 or under 9, under 10, under 12. They sometimes they mix or they combine between them, because what I am saying, Clint, that some of the players, they have a faster development compared with the others, you know. So I can tell you that if you look for today in Brazil, we have some studies that we say players develop more with futsal, okay, in the early age, because futsal make in a short space. Look, we are getting a tactical and technical game training when we talk about it, you know. So short space or short games, small side fields. So futsal in Brazil is very developed with the youth. Neymar came from futsal, Robinho came from futsal, Ronaldinho came from futsal. So, but what we say that when they reach, and this is something that they study here in Brazil, they reach 14 years old, they should quickly separate the situation. So sometimes Robinho, those guys, they play futsal and soccer or football, okay? They play futsal and football. But when they touch the age of 14, they leave the futsal and concentrate themselves straight in football field. So looks to us that 14 for Brazilians, 14 look the very important moment to start to establish specific tactical and technical games in a specific training approach.
Thank you very much. And can I have one question from the floor? And you would like to ask a question, please, from the floor? I know we are beyond the time, but can we have one more question, please?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Dexter. Go ahead.
a pleasant good afternoon. Yeah. The professor just mentioned that futsal develop the younger players more. My question is that should coaches concentrate on more short-sighted or a smaller field with the younger ones as opposed to a bigger field in order to aid their development.
Dexter, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the question. Yes. Listen, I don't say that we should concentrate more in small fields, but what small fields give to the youths in this period of time is more contact with the ball, more touch with the ball, more time surrounded by the game zone, and more time they will be involved in the game. So especially because the guys, they don't have the right strength or enough strength to be cover 7,000 meters square that we have on the pitch. So sometimes when you see very youth teams, we don't see that anymore here, especially in São Paulo State, because São Paulo State until U11, we are playing 7v7 with a small field. Because why? Because this type of game, this short space of game, give more opportunity for the skill development. They have to touch more the ball. They have to solve more problems. They are more in contact of the ball than when they are in a bigger field.
Thanks.
Thank you very, very, very much. I'm going to ask Coach Keith Jeffries. All right, Keith, guys, you almost finished. Just bear with me a little bit. Coach Keith Jeffries, just to say a few words on behalf of the coaches also. And then I have...
Dion, don't mean to cut you. Can I just ask a quick question of the professor? A quick question.
Sure, no problem. Go ahead, please.
Professor, I just have a question based on what happens in Brazil. At what age do they usually start transitioning young players from futsal to field football?
I just said, yes. Sorry, what's your name again?
Andrews.
Andrews, thank you for the question, Andrews. Andrew, as I said before, they stop completely to mix or combine the games on the age of 14, because they say by the age of 14 they should be full-time straight in the game that he wants to follow his life as a footballer, you know. So but we combine this type of game because of the skill benefit that one gives to the other, you know. So it's not only futsal benefits the football field, you know, but the football game as well benefit futsal in some kind of ability. So we mix that here in Brazil. We are mixed that long time. We put the players to be playing from U9, U11, U10 until his professional career start. But when we see a quality player and he is one player that we believe that he can follow his life in football, we separate him with 14 years old. It's not, you know, this is usual we do, you know, but of course there is some players that is still playing with 17, 16, but what they say that is not so good for them, for the development of the player when they keep playing after 14 years old.
Right, and then Professor, again, I keep saying last question, but one of the guys just asked in the chat.
No problem. Go ahead.
Can we use 14 to when to start developing strength? That was one of the questions in the chat a little while ago.
If we can use 14 years old to start the strength train?
Yes.
Yes, of course. Of course that there is limits for that, you know. We have to respect the growing process of the player. We have to respect the age that he he's doing things. We can use his own body weight to develop some strength. When we talk about develop strength, we are not talking only about the gym or put a very heavy card or a very heavy weight for him to develop. There is some functional work that can be done over his body weight that can improve even his strength.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Professor. Can we have Coach Keith Jeffries, please? Coach Keith Jeffries.
Yeah. Professor, on behalf of Stockholm, myself, I want to thank you for the 2 years of information. Philosophy is an important thing for the
Okay, Keith, your mic came over a little bit different. We didn't hear it clearly what you said. Yeah, you're coming over yet. The sound is coming over very strange. That's fine. Yeah, it's something with your sound, but that's fine. That's fine, Keith. I really appreciate it. And I think, Professor, you were saying thank you very much on behalf of the coaches and the information that you gave, right? Also, I would ask Coach Anthony Macano, who's also an exercise scientist, to say a few words, and he's worked with the International Olympic Committee. Coach Macano.
Hi. I would now bring on my video. Good afternoon, everybody. Professor Alfredo as well. Ms. Not, Dion, thank you for allowing me to close the session. I think the information here is critical and vital. And I think for me, Professor, at the beginning of your presentation, there's something that stuck with me, that you're taking players and making them into athletes. And I think that is something in depth that we need to look at and understand what that means. Isn't a player an athlete? These are the questions that you say, well, a player is not an athlete. And we need to understand what that transition is. So for me, that I took that away. I know Ms. Slot is going to ask what you guys taking away from it, but that's something very important to me that I took away from it. I think as well as the way you delivered, I think very concise, very nice, understandable for me. A lot of important points that I hope the coaches take away from this. And I can't say thank you enough to Dion and arranging this for us, but Professor, brilliant work, brilliant presentation. Can't say again, thank you enough for the information shared. You have touched on the long-term athlete development. You have touched on the abilities that we look at, and we understand that these abilities are spread into many different facets. There is technical abilities, there's tactical abilities, there's the mental side of it. There's also the motor abilities, and these are the physical abilities that we need to look at and decipher as to what it is. Speed is not just speed. Speed is also, and I love the questions that you pose. Speed is also divided into speed strength, acceleration, maximum velocity. These are a lot of things that we work with, and putting LTAD into it and stating the age of 14 falls in line with age and stage specific. So again, a lot of good information. I'm going to put a plug here for Ms. Knott as the commission, chairperson of the Education Commission in TTOC, and Dion, don't hit me for 6 for advertising, but I think that a lot of you, a lot of coaches should try to take in front with the TTOC courses where it comes to periodization, where it comes to long-term athlete development. It falls in line with everything that you guys are speaking about here and has been speaking about over the period of time. So when you see these courses, jump on it, and then share your ideas and stuff. I think as coaches, we need to share, and we're not sharing enough. We go into these breakout rooms and we're quiet. We need to start to talk to one another and share with one another so that we get a better understanding and learning. We learn better when we hear from one another, but Thanks again, Professor Dion. Thank you very much. Ms. Knott, good luck going forward.
Thank you very much, Anthony. And as you talked about periodization, somebody just put in the chat, we are going to have, and I'm putting on the spot a little bit, Anthony, to maybe do one of the sessions with us on periodization, because it's very, very important. And again, and no offense taken, Anthony, because what you guys are doing is very, very important for us. Ms. Knott wanted to ask a few random, coaches a few questions. Ms. Knott, please go ahead.
I always first like to ask for a volunteer, and I don't know is it Damian Daniel has put up his hand and is ready to say what are the 2 things he's got from the session. Am I correct? Is Damian Daniel going to come on and tell us?
Actually, I raised my hand to ask something of Dion, but that is no problem. What was the question? 2 things that I learned?
Yeah, came out of this session.
Okay, so we were in group 8, and what we were looking at is the validity of the question, but that went into the first question, whether the criteria is sufficient, and we said no, because and this goes into one of the things that Professor mentioned, is now in the modern game, we have to also look at the mental aspect, and one of the other participants mentioned it as well. And we are looking at the attitudes of the players in terms of the desire. And that actually took us into the testing and the validity of testing a quality such as the mental aspect, because that would be difficult to have a somewhat standardized test for such a broad quality in terms of the mental ability of the players. So what we were looking at is using the coach's example of the video, the attitudes of the players after loss of possession, in terms of how do we measure it. That was one of the questions that we had, how do we measure it? So we said that more like the eye test in terms of how the players react after loss of possession, and in possession, where he had the player in the midfield that played the ball forward, but he didn't show the desire to go forward and assist in the attack. And also the sports psychologists would have their test that they could make a determination in terms of that. And also one of the things that I like the periodization aspect, so that's what I was looking at. But what coach had me thinking about was the movement and the movement quality, and that's something that I look at as well. So in terms of the measurement and how that would relate in terms of individual periodization, and in terms of how much time do we attribute that into the overall tactical and physical periodization plan, fitting that in. And also, well, he got me thinking a lot, because
that's fine. We just wanted to know that you were going to go away with something, and obviously, as Coach Alfredo said, it's making you think. That's one of the main things that he wanted. It made you start to think and think differently. And I think that's a great message. But
if I could just just say what I raised my hand for. One of the members posted in the group, Dion, and this is a question I had as well. Is it possible to have a WhatsApp group with all of the coaches so we can kind of continue these discussions and share the knowledge, because this time is nowhere near enough to get the information.
That's a great question, and yes, and we will get it organized on Monday or Tuesday, and we'll form a WhatsApp group with all the coaches, because I think that's a great question, and that shows togetherness. We have to grow together, so that's awesome.
Sounds like the beginning of your coaching association, football coaching association. Great. One more person, if you all don't mind. Sean, what are you taking away? Sean Eastman.
Thanks again. Somehow I thought Sean might have come up. What happened concerning this, I was really elated because just a couple of weeks ago, we were having discussions concerning our academy and the importance of who we probably know that could assist us in when it comes to like collecting stats and that kind of thing, because we had a discussion where we thought that is something that we don't utilize enough as an indicator. And well, today was my first day, and lo and behold, the professor was speaking. That was part of the about the indicators. It was quite refreshing to me because it is something we were trying to like have discussion with somebody who was a little more versatile and have a lot more knowledge as to give us. And there again, he was able to give us a lot of information of how the indicators could play a great part in for you to get information about a lot of things pertaining to stats, development, finding out different aspects about the player as they progress, you know. So that was something that was that I would take out of that.
Thanks a lot, Sean. And Dion, thanks again for allowing me. It's a real honor, privilege to be able to come on to this course. And Professor Alfredo, thank you very much. Wonderful session. For me, it's the indicators and data collection that's an important part for everybody in coaching, something we don't necessarily do, but how can you check performance if you don't collect the data? So thanks again.
How can you control if you don't measure? That's the point, you know? So my observation for those two last words that we had is in the beginning of the presentation, I told that football is a very complex sport, you know, and how as a coach, you know, we have to identify that there is many different competencies in the game. There is the mental competence, there is the physical competence, there is the technical competence. And to be honest with you, in high-level football, we cannot be working alone anymore. When you see a big coach, they going for big teams, always they have a big staff around of them, you know? So this is why they do that, because the football is very complex. Let me talk you one thing. A Portuguese or a Brazilian guy talking with Caribbean about velocity and mental approach. You know, can you imagine that? Not because I live in Jamaica that I know everything about speed and everything, you know, but let me tell you, the guy said, Dr. Marcano, Professor Marcano said something about the speed and everything, you know. So the mental approach related with that is saying that I don't need to be tense to be concentrate. I can be relaxed to be concentrate. And you can see that every time Usain Bolt step on the track. We never saw his face frame. We never saw his face, or he was so relaxed on the block, but he was very concentrate. You know why? Because it was a good point that he mentioned about the mental approach of the players, because tension, aggressiveness, sometimes we go for the pitch. I remember Jamaica against Toros Nessa. It was like a war. And I can tell you, if you're going with that mentality, with that mental approach for any kind of competition, you're going to be so tense, the co-contract muscle will interfere in the performance of your team, you know? So, as I said, relax, but concentrate. I believe that. So this is why football is so complex and demand study, demand reflection, demand that we think about every single aspect of the game, especially in Caribbean, that we have to operate as a coach, as a father, as a mother, sometimes as a physical trainer, as a psychologist, You know that, guys. You know that.
Professor Alfredo, on behalf of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, we would like to thank you very, very sincerely. On behalf of all the coaches and our guest, Mrs. Knott, and the TTOC, the Ministry of Sport, the Normalization Committee, we'd like to thank you for taking your time out and spending such valuable time with us. I am almost 100% sure that the coaches are going to put some of what they learn into practice. We will try to see if we can get you back on again, right? But thank you very, very, very much. To the participants, thank you for your time. I know we went over a little bit. Next week, we have a coach from Manchester United who will be presenting on behalf of Manchester United as to what their philosophy is. So we look forward to seeing you guys then. And again, a very, very warm thank you from the Caribbean all the way to Brazil. And we hope that the COVID situation there and here gets better very quickly. Professor, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dion, Mrs. Knott, and everyone. Greetings to everyone, and God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.